My name is Mike, though most folks around here call me Iron Mike. Not because I'm tough as nails or anything, but because for as long as I can remember, I've been working with metal, welding, fixing things that are broken, always covered in grease and dust. I'm 50 years old, and the Arizona sun has baked more than a few wrinkles into my skin, but it hasn't baked out the hope entirely, not yet anyway. Every morning I'd wake up before the desert heat really set in, the air still holding a whisper of the night's cool, and I'd drink my coffee on the porch of our small, rented house. I'd watch the sky turn from deep purple to fiery orange, feeling the ache in my joints from the day before, knowing another long one was ahead. My sister, Sarah, she's 10 years younger than me, and she's been sick for a long time. She has a condition that makes her tired all the time, takes her energy, and lately it had been getting worse. My whole life was about keeping her comfortable, making sure she had what she needed. She was my light, my reason for everything. I worked at a fabrication shop, long hours, dirty work, but it paid the bills mostly. My dream wasn't fancy, just to see Sarah healthy, to maybe save enough money to buy us a little place with a garden where she could sit out in the shade without worrying about the rent notice or if the old air conditioner would give out again. That was my quiet struggle, a heavy weight I carried every single day. I kept telling myself, I'm Iron Mike, I can handle anything. But deep down, a voice, my internal nemesis, whispered doubts, telling me I wasn't strong enough, that I was failing Sarah, that I was just getting older and slower, and this fight was too big for me. Things started to unravel completely a few months ago. Sarah had a bad turn, and the doctors said she needed a new kind of treatment, something experimental, expensive, and not fully covered by our insurance. The estimate felt like a mountain I couldn't climb. Then, as if the universe decided I wasn't carrying enough, the old air conditioner in our rented house finally died for good in the middle of a 110-degree heat wave. Sarah couldn't breathe properly in that kind of heat. It was making her condition worse. I tried to fix it myself, watching videos, pulling apart wires, but it was beyond me. The repair estimate for a new unit was almost as much as a month's rent. I started taking every extra shift I could get at the shop, picking up welding gigs on the side, working until my hands trembled and my eyes blurred from exhaustion. I sold some of my old tools, things I'd collected over the years, pieces of my own history, just to keep a little money coming in for Sarah's medicine and a fan for her room. I even thought about selling my old motorcycle, a Harley I'd had since I was 30, the only real indulgence I'd ever allowed myself, my one escape on the open road. I posted it online, swallowed my pride, and waited for a buyer. Every setback felt like a punch to the gut. One day, a potential welding job fell through at the last minute because the client backed out. The next, I cut my hand badly at the shop, not enough to stop working, but enough to make every movement sting and slow me down, losing me a day's pay. Sarah had another rough patch, making her even weaker, and the worry ate at me, gnawed at my insides like a hungry animal. I was trying to save for the treatment and trying to find a new, cooler place for us, but the numbers just weren't adding up. I felt like I was drowning, clutching at straws, pulling myself up only to be dragged back down by another wave. My lowest point came one sweltering afternoon. I just got a call from the buyer for my motorcycle. They were pulling out, said they found another bike. It was my last hope for a big chunk of cash. At the same time, a new bill arrived from the hospital, another charge for Sarah's recent visit, unexpected and sizable. I sat in my truck parked on the side of a dusty road, the engine off, the heat pressing in. The sun beat down, turning the metal cab into an oven. My hands, usually so steady, gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. My vision blurred, not from the sun, but from unshed tears. I felt utterly, completely defeated. I had tried everything. I had worked until I was broken. I had sacrificed everything I had, and it still wasn't enough. The internal nemesis screamed in my ear now, telling me I was a failure, that I couldn't protect Sarah, that I was just a tired old man who had run out of fight. I just wanted to give up, to pull over and fade away into the desert dust. I finally started the truck, the air conditioner blowing hot air, and pulled back onto the highway, just driving aimlessly, the despair heavy in my chest. I didn't know where I was going, only that I couldn't go home yet, not with this hollow feeling. The highway stretched out, shimmering in the heat, endless and unforgiving, just like my problems felt. Then up ahead I saw brake lights flicker, a chain reaction, and traffic started to slow, then stop completely. A grumble rose in my throat. I didn't need another delay, another frustration. I leaned forward, squinting through the windshield. It wasn't an accident. In the middle of the highway, a group of motorcycles had formed a barrier, their big chrome bikes blocking all lanes. These weren't just any riders, they were big guys, leather vests, tattoos, the kind of crew you wouldn't want to cross. But they weren't yelling or fighting. They were moving with a strange kind of purpose, slowly, carefully. People were honking, yelling, but the bikers didn't budge. My annoyance faded as I watched, my curiosity piqued despite my heavy heart. And then I saw it. A tiny, terrified kitten, no bigger than my hand, stranded on the concrete median strip, exposed to the blistering sun, trying to dart through the traffic. It was so small, so helpless, utterly overwhelmed by the roaring cars and the vast, dangerous highway. One of the bikers, a giant of a man with a beard down to his chest, knelt down, slowly, carefully, while his friend stood guard, blocking the lanes, protecting this one small, vulnerable life. He moved with such tenderness, speaking softly to the kitten, coaxing it out from under a small piece of debris. He finally scooped it up, holding it gently in his huge hands like it was the most precious thing in the world. He got back on his bike, the kitten tucked safely inside his vest, and then the whole group slowly moved off, allowing traffic to resume. My breath caught in my throat. I watched them go, these tough-looking men who had stopped an entire highway, risked anger and maybe even tickets, all for a tiny creature that had no connection to them at all. It was an act of unexpected kindness, a moment of pure, selfless humanity in the middle of all the noise and chaos. It was a mirror reflecting back my own desperate desire to protect Sarah, to make her safe. And in that moment, watching that little kitten disappear into the care of those strangers, something shifted inside me. The despair didn't vanish, but it loosened its grip. If these men, strangers to each other and to that kitten, could stop everything for one small life, then maybe I hadn't run out of fight either. Maybe there was more good in the world than I'd allowed myself to see. Maybe I just needed to reach out. I realized that my biggest mistake wasn't trying too hard, but trying to do it all alone. The sight of those bikers, the raw kindness they showed, became my turning point. I drove straight home, the image of that tiny kitten seared into my mind, and instead of giving up, I did something I had always been too proud to do. I asked for help. I remembered an old friend from the shop, a man named Jesse, who had once mentioned a community program that helped families with medical expenses and housing. I had brushed it off then, thinking I didn't need charity. But now, pride felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. I called Jesse, and he connected me. It wasn't easy. I had to fill out mountains of paperwork, tell my story to strangers, lay bare my struggles. But because of that call, things slowly, painstakingly, started to change. The community program helped us find a small, affordable apartment that had working air conditioning, a place where Sarah could breathe easy. They also connected us with a social worker who helped navigate the maze of medical bills and found some grants we qualified for, easing the crushing financial burden of Sarah's treatment. It wasn't a miracle overnight, but it was a lifeline. Sarah slowly began to improve, her color returning, her smell a little brighter each day. My new normal wasn't perfect. I still worked hard, but the gnawing worry wasn't a constant companion anymore. There was space to breathe, to hope. I knew what it felt like to be completely alone in a sea of problems, and I vowed never to let anyone else feel that way if I could help it. I started volunteering at a local animal shelter on my days off, remembering that tiny kitten. I cleaned cages, walked dogs, and helped with adoptions. It was a small way to pay forward the unexpected kindness that had saved me from myself. I also started a small community project in our new neighborhood, building raised garden beds for people who wanted to grow their own vegetables but didn't have the space. I shared my welding skills, my hands still strong, not just for paychecks, but for connection, for building something new and beautiful with others. Hope and connection, I realized, were the strongest metals of all. One day, while I was at the animal shelter, a family came in looking for a companion for their young son, who was recovering from a long illness. They were struggling financially, just like Sarah and I had been. I found them the perfect little calico kitten, playful and sweet, and I managed to arrange for the adoption fees to be covered by an anonymous donor I'd found. As they left, the little boy cradling the kitten carefully in his arms, his face alight with joy, I felt a warmth spread through me. It wasn't just about the kitten. It was about the spark of hope in their eyes, the ripple effect of kindness that had started on a scorching highway with a group of bikers and a single brave little cat. Things truly do get better, sometimes in the most unexpected ways, proving that even when you feel like iron, it's the gentle touch of humanity that truly strengthens you.